Welcome to season 11 of the Prosthetics and Orthotics podcast. This is where we chat with experts in the field, patients who use these devices, physical therapists, and the vendors who make it all happen. Our goal is to share stories, tips, and insights that ultimately help our patients get the best possible outcomes. Tune in and join the conversation. We are thrilled you're here and hope it is the highlight of your day.
Hi, everyone. My name is Joris Beals, and this is another edition of the Prosthetics and Orthotics podcast with Brent Wright. How you doing, Brent?
Hey, Joris. I'm doing well. You know, it was interesting. One of the last podcasts that, I guess you were at Rapid, I did with Dr. Kreider, really did very well. And it was interesting to kind of get the feedback from people as far as they liked the fact that a doctor who is doing the prescription of these devices is so into orthotics and prosthetics and can help you. So the way that it works in the US is the doctor has to write a prescription and provide the documentation for a prosthesis so you get paid by the insurance company. And many doctors just don't want to be bothered, or they don't, it's just a lot of extra work. Well, with Dr. Kreider and then his colleagues that are in some other states as well, that's what they do. They're physiatrists that do this kind of documentation and evaluation via telemedicine. And it was just a really great interview with him to just know that that's a service to our industry. And it really helps us get reimbursed for the things that our patients deserve.
That's super cool, dude. I think it's also testament to how good it is for us to talk to people around it. You know, we've talked to now the therapists, we've talked to surgeons, and I think it's great to keep talking about people around the industry as well to get different perspectives from around the OMP, not just the practitioners, right? To know, you know, about. I'd love to have an insurance person on, for example. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. But I think apart from that one, I think they're doing a great job of trying to tackle all the people around the industry to give people more of a 360-degree perspective, let's say.
Well, I'd say let's hop right in, man. I am super excited to introduce our next guest, and I had to practice a little bit, so hopefully I get it close here. So we have Jochen Weigel with us from Stuttgart, Germany. And I know I just butchered the Stuttgart, but he is not only a clinician, an inventor, and a manufacturer as well. And he does a bunch of things. And one of the things I think yours we'll get into a little bit, but two things really, is he does a lot of the post-processing for the Niagara feet. And he's a distributor of them. And those are the feet that I use in Guatemala and we use in Ivory Coast as well. And it is a great foot for the developing world. It looks like a simple foot, but is highly, highly engineered. And the materials from DuPont, and it's injection molded in a very specific way. And so there's just a lot of thought in it. So very near and dear to my heart. And then the second thing that is very neat is he has created a system that is, I would say, fairly portable, but it allows you to take a cast using this mechanism that uses a paddleboard pump that allows patients to be standing and bear weight through their leg while you're taking the cast. And I used this for the first time. It's probably been about a week and a half ago. And it was very, very neat. So I have not fit my patient yet with that. But one of the great indications that a patient appreciates something that feels good or a good fit is that they can bear weight through the cast and they feel like their weight is being distributed all over the prosthesis and they have no pain. And so for this particular patient, it has a very short limb, very bony limb. And so a very, technically a tough fit, but this AirFit casting method is going to be very interesting. So I don't have the final results of that as far as a dynamic walking with the patient, but the patient was very pleased with the way it initially felt. And she is actually a very experienced patient. She's been an amputee for a very long time. And so she's done this a lot. And so she was very excited about how it feels too. So we've got a lot to dive in. I mean, those are just two of the things that he does. He does many more things, and a clinician on top of that. He just got back from Kenya as well. So a very genuine person, a person that's looking to do good in the world. So I think we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Awesome. So welcome to the show, Jochen.
Thank you for introducing. Welcome.
So Jochen, first off, how did you get involved with orthotics and prosthetics?
Yeah, I'm a CPO, and I worked a long time as clinical specialist for traumatic amputees. And then the industry took me over. So I was 8 years manager R&D of a small but very old company here in Stuttgart. Now they are the biggest supplier of willow wood parts here in Germany. Then I came back to the workshop or to the clinic, and I was manager of the biggest workshop here in Stuttgart. We had 40 employees. But 12 years ago, I started besides my own business because I want to be my own boss and do what I think. If you have the higher age, that is possible. And I'm in the business since 1988, so a long time. And now I'm running my business 13 years. I'm how Brand said, I'm looking for prototypes. I'm looking for serial production, doing ideas, and that's pretty interesting for me because I said the last 10 years in my business life, I want to give back a little bit of that what I got.
Okay, that's super cool. So if we're looking at the prosthetics thing, it seems like it could be. It was for you. It's a very rewarding kind of thing, place to be. It's a very rewarding industry to work in. And why is that for you? Is it just like watching patients walk? Is it is that the payoff for you, or why is it has been such a good place to you?
Because I need the helping situation. That means it's enormous if you see someone coming in the wheelchair and you help them that they can walk out of the clinic, and that is what I always love, and I loved it with every patient. So that's the reason.
And do you think when you're now kind of more you invent things, right? So do you think that because you got started in trauma, is that why you got, because it was so, all the solutions were so complex and new that you got into the idea of inventing things?
No, it became because I started my business at the company Greisinger. And Greisinger, he was, after the Second World War, he invented the Greisinger foot and the Greisinger knee. So it was very normal for me to speak with the industry about serial production since I started my business. And then I switched to industry and saw the same. And when I started my own business, old contacts always asked me, can you help me? I have this idea. And so I did it. And I did, how Brent said, the Niagara foot, the all-terrain, now the AirFit system. So that's always looking for better solutions for the patients.
Okay, talk to us a little bit about this AirFit system, which Brent is in the early days of trying out. How did you come up with it, and why did you come up with it?
It was a project with the Fraunhofer Institute here in Germany. We have different places from them, and the one in Stuttgart has the orthopedic part too. So we had the project to find out which material is best for prosthetic sockets. So we came over to 3D printing, and we developed together with a plastic company a 99% bioplastic in filaments, who is now really good working. We think we can launch it this year. But in this project, the second question was, how is the best impression to make for a socket? And so we compared hand casts, vacuum supported casts. We made the overpressure cast with a very old system. We made a scan. We made on the beginning an MRD. Later it was ultrasonic. And what we saw is that for every patient with these different kinds of casting, we have different sockets. But we can compare all the sockets from the pressure cast system and they have always the same shape. When I did it 5 times, we had 5 times the same fit, and it was a good fit from beginning. So that was the background in this project, and then I thought I have to take that idea and look if I can make a system that is usable far away if you're out of energy, just to have it in your car. And if you're driving to the field, you can make a cast as well. So I created the AirFit more or less for embarking, not embarking. How is it called? The countries who are coming,
emerging,
yes,
emerging,
yes,
yeah, emerging companies, yeah. Countries, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I thought it's pretty good if you have a nurse or a doctor there. They can fit a socket as well, because in these countries often you don't have the education for prosthetics, and that was the beginning. And then I saw, that works in industrial countries as well, because we have customers who have central fab and a lot of satellites of workshops. And if they bring in from every CPO his own hand sign, let's say, then the central fab has the problem to know how it should be made. One makes more reduction than the other makes less. So that's the question for them. And the answer is making it with AirFit, because the AirFit system it's doing on its own, and the CPO has more time for his patient, because he don't has to modify the molds. He don't have to think about reduction percentages. And the guy who is making the socket, he knows I use this mold and it fits.
Okay, that's cool, super cool. And well, there's one thing if we're designing something for an emerging economy or for austere conditions, but have you actually tested it out? Have you gone to places like that and had it work? Because that's, of course, a very different thing, right?
Yeah. I have been in Kenya 2 weeks ago. There I tried out a pretty new idea. It's a low temperature thermoplast socket. You know it maybe from Amparo. There is a second company who's called Olivio, and they make the same kind of sockets. And the idea was, can we combine this socket and the AirFit system? So I was in Kenya to fit 3 patients with this combination, and it worked very well. So I think we should not bring it out for the whole world, because reimbursement system don't want to know how fast we have been and how good it fits. And in Germany, all the CPOs tell me, don't tell it to the reimbursement system, because we want to earn money. But in third world and so on, I think it's the perfect way, because after 1 hour they worked, and it's a definitive socket. It's not just a check socket.
Yeah, that's a really amazing thing. I think the idea of being able to leapfrog some other functionality, maybe even get a better kind of customer experience, and then some people could get in like the richer part of the world. That could be really exciting. And were there other things that surprised you? For example, working in Kenya, for example, that there's bigger problems with temperature. There's bigger problems maybe transporting things. Were there things that you realized that were even more difficult or easier maybe?
I don't think that Kenya is really so behind. I'm member of an NGO from Cameroon. So when I compare these two African countries, there is a big technical difference. In Kenya, you can find CPO workshops. They have oven, they have a sander machine, they have saws, and so on. So the tools are there, and so it's not a problem to do that. The climatic situation is no problem because it's not so hot there. So with this sockets, it was no problem. And in the manufacturing of the sockets, you have to overheat them and then let it a little bit cool down, that it's possible to use it over a silicone liner on the stump, that it does not burn the skin. So it's not a really low temperature thermoplast that we know from orthotics or something like that, who is just used in hot water. We really need temperature, and it's then a really stable construction. I built an ISO test machine, an easy system, and I have the socket now, one of the sockets in the test machine, and we saw no problem now, and we have 1 million cycles yet. It's still running. So I think that this can be a good solution for these countries.
That's awesome. But then, so you're saying in Kenya, it's pretty advanced, actually, maybe more advanced than most people think, is less problematic. But if you go to a place like Cameroon, are there local CPOs? Are there workshops? Or is that kind of like, would it be very impossible to find, or would patients have to travel very long distances? Is it really, is that an example of a country that's is going to be much more difficult to implement prosthetics generally?
Yeah, that's right. Cameroon, I looked deeper in it, and I just found one prosthetics company. And when I saw the pictures, I was not amazed about the socket design. And I think that, this in Cameroon, it's really the basic what we have to do there. And in the moment we are building a clinic and education center, and in autumn we want to have ready the first floor, and so we will start with prosthetics in the end of the year there. And we had the minister of work parts. He visited us here, our NGO, and he said, if you will bring prosthetics to Cameroon, the government will help you. So I hope that he remembers what he promised when we start. And even if people have to come there, maybe that could be a help, that they sponsor buses or something like that, because it's long distance, bad roads, takes long time to come. And that's why I like the system so much. It's reheatable. That means if the patient is coming again because the stump shrinked, it's no problem to reheat it and go again in the AirFit and make the socket smaller. So it's usable several times, and that's perfect for these regions.
Okay, that's cool. And do you think that would you say, because I like the approach of, like, we've noticed this a couple of times in this podcast, when we have people that actually worked in the field, like Brent and like other people in different parts of the world, they actually come up with, like, much more kind of customized solutions for a country in a situation where other people who are trying to kind of like say, kind of like, Western technology solves all problems. These kind of more utopia vision people try to kind of have the idea you can invent something in San Francisco and it'll just be used by everyone all over the world, kind of, And I think there's more nuance is kind of is probably needed. And then do you think, would you, if somebody gave you like a lot of money to solve prosthetics in Kenya and then to solve prosthetics in Cameroon, how different would your approaches be in both of those countries?
I'm not thinking about the money in the moment, because I think we have to look about the real possibilities in beginning. I'm member of this NGO, so I think we can collect money here in Western industrial countries, like we did it for the water systems there. Made how is it called? I have to look in my dictionary. Sorry.
Pumps, augers,
fontaines,
water filters.
Fontaines.
Yeah. Water fountains or pump. Yeah.
We did 62 now in Cameroon. And they are all financed from German people or companies. So we ask them to donate, and we write down their name on the side of the fontaine wall, and they get pictures back that they can really see that every cent is going there to help. And we will do the same with the prosthetics, but in cooperation with the common prosthetics company. We don't want to take him out or make him work less because we donate everything. So we want to try to cooperate with him because it's good to have someone there. But what we want to do as well is to take someone here to Germany that we educate them in prosthetics, that he can educate later more people. So that's the idea behind.
So I wanted you to dig into a little bit more, and put on your clinician hat, scientist hat or what have you. And you talked a little bit earlier, especially on the AirFit system. Why air? Why not water? Why not some of the other stuff like the old timey pressure pump that had 2 bladders and all that stuff? It sounds like you really did think about this quite a bit. You tried a bunch of different things, and I'd love just for you to share. Hey, what was the journey?
Yeah, how I told you, it was out of the project. So in the first beginning, I did not think about that. I just did it for the project, and when I saw it, then I looked deeper in it. Why is it in this way? And then I saw that air bladders and everybody's remembering when we played with the air pump for bicycle tires when we was children. You can push it together, and if you have the finger on the valve, you can throw away or press it back because air is compressible. And that is the reason why the AirFit works different like the others. Water pressure is not compressible. That means water presses 1-to-1 the same pressure in the system everywhere. And the air system is compressible. That means the air pressure presses just soft tissue away. The bony parts, and that is the important thing, will not be pressed so much. If we have fat or muscles, they are weak, and the air pressure presses it is together and compress it is, and that's the background of the system. And we don't need electricity for that. We don't need water for that. We just have a stand-up puddle pump. And with this pump, you can inflate and you can deflate the bladder inside. So that's pretty good too, because if I want to go inside the air bladder in the system, I need room, I need space. So that's good that I can pump out the air between the tube and the bladder and make a big area where I can go in. And if I'm inside, I change the side of the pump and I give air pressure inside. And how Brand said, the patient gives his body weight it's enough if you give 50%, but if you want, it's no problem to give all the body weight into the stump side, and that makes that the cast is really natural. It's not just a hydrostatic socket. It's really a formed part, and I'm happy that Brent is looking deeper in that, because he wants. I think the picture he had in LinkedIn was comparing two different casts, and I'm really happy that he is looking for that, because in the moment I can just explain it, but I cannot really prove what I told. I have no analysis. I have no scientific points that really brings it on the point. But I know it from the several amputees I fitted in that, and they say all the same. And that's the big difference to the other systems. It does not ache when I'm standing there.
I think
that sounds like a fantastic result. Go on.
Yeah, well, no, I love that, and the thing that's so important is you have to kind of put aside the ego of the clinician. Like when you tell somebody, actually, I've got a recipe for you, right, and it works almost all the time. That's a difficult thing for a clinician to go up against, but at some point, and you've done this, is the patient's input or their feedback is the most important part. So if they say it's the most comfortable thing they've ever been in, and it shows that with their walking, and there's a whole bunch of ways that you can see that they're comfortable, you have to, as a clinician, you have to evaluate that system, because if you're truly a clinician that wants the best outcome for your patients, and patients are saying this, then you need to evaluate it.
You're right. And I'm thinking more about that. And 2 hours again, I spoke with Tim Bryant, and I should say you a hello from him. And and maybe his students are interested in finding out what really in the system brings this success. And I have to evaluate it. You are right. And the CPOs can evaluate it with their patients.
Yeah, totally. And then I'd like to talk a little bit about another thing. This is this foot you developed, the Niagara foot. So first off, tell us about, why did you develop this? And then tell us a little bit how you developed this thing.
I did not develop it. It was a Canadian CPO. I think I don't know him because it's so long. Brent, I think you know him.
Yeah, Rob. Yep.
Rob Gailey.
It's his name. Last name is hard. It's like Gaborni or something like that. Yep.
And his idea was to invent a prosthetic foot that has a long life, because if we look in developing countries, they all use the SACH foot. And SACH foot, I've seen it in Kenya. He begins after 6 months to break under the forefoot, and I always thought the heel is the problem, but I saw it's really the forefoot. And after 12 months, it's breaking away. And the problem is they don't have anything others in this price region, because you can buy now Chinese SACH feet for $20, and that was for Rob the reason to think and look for a better solution, not just half a year and using half a year. And what he created was two things. It was a design and it was a material. And the design, like Brent said, it's really interesting because it's not just a spring like a carbon foot. When you roll over, you load it, and if you go away, it deloads. No, in the Niagara foot, it's really a join without having really a moving point, and it's the foot is adjustable. That's unique too. You can grind down and sand down it to make it more flexible, and you can cut it for the lengths. You can modify it for left and right. So what Rob invented is really amazing, and it was just possible because DuPont, the plastics manufacturer, helped, because normally this material, it's called Hydrel, is not moldable in this thickness. That's what we have here in my workshop. I make the post processes after molding. We have to fight against, because if you really measure every foot, every molded foot has a little difference. And that's not common for CNC milling, because you have to clamp it, you have to bring your 0 point on the right position. So that's what is our daily work, to fight against these little differences. But this material is really the longest standing material I've ever seen in prosthetics. It makes no problem to go in salt water. It makes no problem to walk in sand, what is always damaging the fiber feet. The Niagara foot stays. It's really a dream how long the people can walk with that.
Yeah, I think that's really exciting. We don't really often see like a prosthetics and orthotics innovation coming from the material sector. But we know that, for example, in the liners, but also in these use of carbon fiber, is when people apply new materials and new processes to prosthetics and orthotics, the industry makes these great leaps forward. This is a great example of this kind of this material being developed that really kind of does different things in a different way than other. It's like elastomeric material, but it's super durable. It's kind of post-processable in a way that really benefits the workflow. It's kind of a rubber, but then it can be molded, also 3D printed, by the way, although it's not really done a lot as a thermoplastic does. So I think it's a really exciting material. I think it's really exciting, kind of points to a lot of companies that maybe could get a nice little business on the side, because of course the volume is never going to be huge for them, in developing or adapting materials that are really going to be doing something completely different. And do you have like a lot of how many of these feet are out there? Is it really growing this foot, or is it and should it grow a lot more according to you?
You mean the amount who is sold?
Yeah, something like that. Like, I don't know how successful these respective kind of more emerging feet designs are. I have no idea, right?
All over, we have numbers. I think around about 5,000 feet who are yet produced. We have the price fight against the Chinese SACH feet. That means even ICRC, who is one of the biggest NGO, can buy it in the moment, because it's molding, it's the post process, it's the adaptation, it's the cover. So altogether, we are a little bit higher price than a Chinese SACH foot, and we hope that we can explain it in the way that it stays longer, because if you have to buy every year a new SACH foot, on the end it's more expensive. We show it in the ISPO Congress in Sweden now again. That everybody knows that it's possible to have a long-standing foot. But it's always the same. If there is something cheaper, they mainly take the cheaper one, don't thinking what is in a year. Maybe because they don't have so much money and just can buy it now with $20. So it's a pity.
I think that's one thing that's always difficult is, everything comes down to price, right? It's like, well, I know this could be better, but it costs about $4 more. And they just don't take into consideration, the long standing. I mean, I think I even still have some Model 1s still out in Guatemala. Definitely the Model 2s are going strong and have done very well. And I've done everything from a size 26 down to a size 21, very petite, female, short, weighs 70 pounds. And I've even put some on some kids too, where we've tuned them. And so that's the beauty, is this 1 foot literally can span the, nearly, let's say 190 pounds down to, 70 pounds. So it's as long as you tune it correctly, I think it's a really neat innovation. I think one of the difficult things though, and I know we've talked about this, is the idea of foot shells, foot covers, for these feet. A lot of people wear sandals of some sort or a shoe, and you want a lot of times to fill out that shoe. It doesn't necessarily have to look like a foot, but these are the little innovations along the way, right? That make a difference.
Yeah, you're totally right. I have a good friend in Mexico, Juan Carlos. Maybe he is hearing us later. He is really a creative prosthetist, and he made his own cover on the Niagara foot. He just used a semi-rigid foam to cover it and sanded it in a foot form. And he used a car wheel profile under the foot, that the persons can walk without shoe, and so it's really, really long standing and looks fine. And if someone is a little bit creative, it's possible to make something like that. Or I think it was you, Brent, what you told me. It's a kind of bathing shoe who is possible to rub over it, to use it. And I think if we have to collect the ideas and have to write it down in our catalog, that not just buying a cover is a solution. Maybe it's a better solution to think about it, what is better for your patient.
Yeah, I think the cool thing with this Niagara foot thing, because I had no idea the Canadian gentleman developed it, but it does explain the name a little better.
Straight out of Stuttgart.
Now I'm like, okay, now I understand. Maybe he went on his honeymoon. I don't know. Anyway, but if I remember I looked at this video online of him, like on. I can find very little information on this Niagara foot, by the way, right? Because I looked into it once. Because to me, it was like kind of the crux of this thing, because it just seems such a deceptively simple thing that does work. And it's kind of like, if you want to mass produce something, or if you want to make it at a large scale, you probably come up with this. And I remember I saw this YouTube video about it on a testing bench, like you explained before, doing all these cycles of testing. And it's just super ingenious, and it's really a beautifully elegant thing, right?
Yeah, it's ISO tested. It's now up to 125 kilos tested, and yeah, it's really nice because it's a jointless joint foot, and it really rolls perfectly. It's from his sole shape. It's a circle like from the hip. So it's not so much energy what a user needs to walk over it, and it's the best visible point is if the patient is walking up a hill, and the forefoot play is visible in the horns between of the top. So that's really the area where it moves a lot, and then it's understandable that it is not just a piece of plastic.
Yeah, the other thing that's really wild is SACH feet are notoriously difficult to align and such, specifically for transfemoral or above the knee amputees. This has such a beautiful heel where it still gives you a stable knee with a literal, an inexpensive knee, and it's stable with that softer heel. It really is amazing, and these people walk unbelievable with this foot. So, yeah, there's a lot going on, a lot of thought, even though it does look simple. And the other thing that's very interesting is that you see that DuPont was involved in all this, but like Jochen said, it's super difficult to mold. And so there's literally only a couple places in the whole world, and one of them I forget is in somewhere in the U.S. I think that makes these molds, and they're familiar enough with the material. But you can't just take that mold and take it anywhere and inject it. Like, there is a deep tribal knowledge that goes into how this is done, and I think that's pretty neat.
You're totally right, Brent. That's why we let the mold stay in Canada. I worked together with a pretty good molder in Serbia. Serbia is a country here in Europe who are not yet in the EU, and that means they have pretty good prices for molds, and that's what the first thought. But then, when I spoke with Tim Bryant and Heinz Trebin and all the team behind the Niagara foot, we said, no, we will let it stay in Canada. This company who knows to mold it is better that we try out somewhere others and fail you, because there are so much heating and cooling zones inside. That's we don't need a patent, because nobody else can build this mold again, and no molder will be possible to do it again, because it's so incredible, unnormal. Yeah. So that's why it was only possible with the help of DuPont to make it, because they always came down to the molding company and said, no, here it's too hot, no, here it's too cool, and we changed it all the way, and the mold is now pretty good, and we will never touch it.
That's right. I just think, I just think it's amazing though. Like, you think that, well, mold is a mold is a mold. It's so much more than that, and that's one of the interesting things about all this is, while simple things look simple, there's so much that goes in there. So go ahead, Joris. Sorry.
No, I was about to sing the praise of conformal cooling channels and molds.
Oh yeah, well that would be amazing.
But no, don't worry about that. This is really boring. But there's another question for Jochen then. I mean, I think if you have somebody who's listening who also wants to help out, and I know there's a lot of people that want to help out and then just don't end up doing it because it's too complicated, or they don't know where to help out or what to do. What would you advise they do, or do you have any specific advice for those kind of people?
Sorry, that was too much American and too fast.
So imagine there's people listening that want to help out, just like you've been helping out with develop these feet for the developing world, and or co-develop them and help them get out there. And how would you advise them on helping, just generally helping people obtain easier or low cost prosthetics and orthotics?
Yeah, there are different ways. One way could be to help out, and that means any NGO is happy if someone wants to help and work in developing countries, let's say for 3 or 4 weeks in summer holidays for free. That's a pretty good help. The other help possibility is really to donate, to pay some money, and how I said, we personalize the donation to that everyone who gives the money can really see where it is used for. And if CPOs really want to help, maybe they have a good idea for a product. So speak with NGO, speak with manufacturers. It can be me, but it must not. So the bigger the country, the companies are, the less they are interested in third world and helping. So ask the small companies. That could be a big help.
Okay, that's really I think very direct and actionable news, I think. And how about your when you're back in Germany doing work here, we're doing work in Germany. Are you now a bit bored with that kind of regular stuff, or do you still find it very challenging to do the regular kind of CPO kind of work you do normally?
No, I'm really not boring, because I always have new projects what I'm looking for. Yesterday was a young lady here with a knee disarticulation, and that is the next point I want to try out with the AirFit system, because I really think that it should work. The knee disarticulation has the real shape of the femur distal, and that is the point who has to be molded very good. And I think that's how I said it's possible with the system. So no, boring is not my thing.
That's awesome. So Jochen, thank you so much for your time today with us, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you both for speaking with you and inviting me.
And Brian, thanks for you all as always.
Oh, this was great, and to hear all the things that we got going, and there's so many more discussions to have. So I'm sure we'll be following up with him soon again. So that's a fun thing, because we WhatsApp at all hours of the day. So it's a fun thing.
That's right.
All right, and thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Prosthetics and Orthotics podcast. Have a great day.
Okay.